You know, sometimes life gets so noisy that even your own thoughts feel like strangers. There's a kind of tiredness that sleep can't fix, right? You wake up, and before you even open your eyes, your mind's already running, thinking about what went wrong yesterday, what could go wrong today. And deep down, you wonder, will my heart ever feel quiet again? If you've ever felt that way, stay here with me for a few minutes. Maybe we can just breathe together. Let things slow down a little. This isn't about changing who you are or forcing yourself to think positive. It's about learning to sit with your own mind softly, without judgment. And if moments like this help you find a bit of calm, I'd love for you to stay connected. Just hit subscribe so we can keep walking this gentle path together. Sometimes we treat our mind like an enemy we need control. We fight with our thoughts, try to push away the ones that scare us, and chase after the ones that make us feel safe. But the mind isn't something to fight. It's something to understand. Like a small child who's been left alone too long. It just needs your attention, your kindness, your patience. Maybe that's why the Buddha once said, "The mind is everything. What you think, you become." But that doesn't mean you have to be perfect in your thinking. It just means that your thoughts shape how you feel, how you see the world, how peaceful your days can be. And if you can learn to meet your thoughts with gentleness instead of fear, something inside you begins to settle. You see, we live in a world that's always rushing. Everyone's trying to get somewhere, to achieve, to fix, to prove. We scroll through endless screens, searching for meaning, but we forget to look right here, in the quiet space of our own breath. When you sit still long enough, you realize that peace was never gone. It was just covered by noise. Maybe you've tried meditation before and thought, "I can't do it. My mind just won't stop." That's okay. Really it is. Meditation isn't about stopping your thoughts. It's about seeing them clearly, like clouds passing through the sky. You don't have to chase them or hold on. Just watch. Let them float by. Some clouds are heavy, some light, but none of them stay forever. When I first tried to calm my mind, I failed miserably. I thought peace meant silence. But real peace isn't the absence of noise. It's the ability to stay still even when life gets loud. The calm you're looking for doesn't come from escaping the storm. It comes from learning to stand in the rain without drowning. Maybe right now your heart feels heavy. Maybe you're tired of pretending that everything's fine. That's okay too. You don't need to be strong all the time. Sometimes real strength is in softening, in admitting that you're human, that you hurt, that you get lost, because it's in that honesty that healing begins. I remember an old monk once said, "The mind is like water. When it's turbulent, you can't see clearly. But when it's still, the truth reflects." I used to think I had to force my mind to be still, but now I see it's not about control, it's about trust. You can't force water to be still by slapping it. You let it settle naturally by leaving it alone. And maybe that's how we should treat ourselves too, with a little more patience. When you feel anxious, when your thoughts spiral, don't rush to fix it. Just breathe. Notice what's happening. Name it softly. Oh, this is fear. This is worry. This is sadness. You don't have to solve it. You just have to see it. And in that seeing, something loosens. Sometimes people ask, "How do I train my mind?" And I tell them, it starts the moment you stop running from it. Training the mind isn't about force. It's about awareness. Every time you catch yourself reacting in anger and pause instead of shouting, you're training your mind. Every time you choose to forgive instead of hold a grudge, you're training your mind. Every time you take a deep breath before reacting, That's you doing the work. Quietly, beautifully, without anyone noticing. You don't need a temple or incense or hours of silence. You just need a few honest minutes with yourself. The mind learns from how you treat it. If you treat it with violence, it becomes restless. If you treat it with kindness, it becomes peaceful. So, be gentle. You've been through enough already. Maybe you've carried years of worry, regret, or anger. Maybe you don't even know why you feel so restless sometimes. That's all right. The healing won't happen overnight. The mind takes time to unlearn fear. It takes time to remember what peace feels like. But the fact that you're here listening already means something inside you is reaching for calm. And that's the beginning. So tonight, or whenever you find a quiet moment, try this. Sit somewhere comfortable, close your eyes, and just breathe. Don't try to fix anything. Don't judge what comes up. Just let your thoughts rise and fall, like waves on the shore. Some will crash loudly, others will fade softly. But they'll all pass. And as you sit there, you might start to notice a tiny gap between your thoughts, a little space of stillness. That's the doorway. That's where peace begins, not in changing your mind, but in watching it with love. Maybe life will always have its noise, its worries, its changes, but you don't have to be lost in them. You can learn to walk through chaos with a quiet heart. You can smile even when things aren't perfect, because you found something deeper than happiness. You found calm. And if you ever forget how to find your way back, that's okay too. Come sit here again. Listen, breathe, remember, this space is always open for you. Because peace isn't somewhere far away. It's right here, in this moment, waiting for you to come home. So, let's keep walking together. You and I, every story, every reflection, every quiet breath. We'll keep learning to be still, to be kind, to be human. And if this gentle space feels like something you want to return to, go ahead and subscribe. Not because you have to, but because sometimes we all need a small reminder that peace is possible and that we're not alone in finding it. You know, it's strange how the mind works sometimes. The more we try to stop thinking, the louder the thoughts get. It's like telling the ocean to stop moving. The waves don't listen. They rise, they fall. They just do what they do. And maybe our thoughts are the same way. Maybe we're not supposed to stop them. Maybe we're just supposed to stop fighting them. When I was younger, I used to believe peace meant silence, no thoughts, no worries, no emotions. But life doesn't work that way. The mind is alive. It breathes, it remembers, it dreams. Trying to silence it completely is like try to hold your breath forever. You can't, but you can learn to breathe with awareness. You can learn to be with your thoughts instead of being ruled by them. So the next time your mind feels noisy, don't panic. Don't think, I'm failing. Instead, just smile a little and say, the mind is talking again, and let it talk. You don't need to believe every word it says. Not every thought deserves your attention. Thoughts are like passing cars. You can stand on the sidewalk and watch them go by. You don't need to chase every one that drives past. When you can do that, just observe without jumping in. You start to discover something gentle beneath the noise. It's like standing by a river and realizing you're not the water. You're the sky above it, still and open, watching it flow. Maybe you've noticed this too. Some thoughts come back again and again, wearing the same disguise. Worries about money, memories that still sting, old regrets. The mind loves to replay what it can't fix. But here's the truth. The past only lives when you feed it your attention. The more you stare at the wound, the longer it stays open. The moment you look away, with compassion, not avoidance, it begins to heal. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It just means choosing peace over pain. It means saying, yes, that happened, but I don't have to carry it anymore. And that's powerful. That's the moment you begin to reclaim your freedom. Sometimes people tell me, I can't let go. It's too hard. And I understand. Some things in life leave a deep mark. Loss, betrayal, the quiet ache of time. But healing doesn't ask you to erase what happened. It just asks you to stop reliving it, to stop turning it into a movie that plays in your head every night. Try this next time you feel caught in a loop of thinking. Close your eyes and breathe out slowly, as if you're releasing something heavy. Whisper to yourself, I don't need to hold this anymore. It doesn't matter if the feeling stays for a while. It will soften with time. The more you let it move through you, the lighter you become. The Buddha once said, holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal. You get burned every time. But we do it anyway, don't we? We hold the coal and wonder why it hurts. Maybe because part of us believes that holding on gives us power. But really, it only gives us pain. So maybe peace isn't about control. It's about surrender. Not giving up, but letting things be. Letting life unfold without forcing it. Trusting that the heart knows how to heal if you just stop interrupting it. I remember once sitting under a tree at sunset, watching the sky fade into gold. I was thinking about something painful from the past, and I kept asking myself, why did that happen? Why couldn't it have been different? And then in the stillness, something whispered inside me, because that's how you learn to be gentle. And I realized maybe life doesn't hurt us to punish us. Maybe it breaks us open so we can finally see how tender we are, so we can understand others' pain a little better, so we can love not just with our mind, but with our scars too. So if you're holding something heavy tonight, maybe you can put it down just for a little while. You don't have to throw it away. Just rest it beside you. You've carried it long enough. Let the weight be there, but don't let it crush you. And as you sit with that quiet, remember this. You are not your thoughts. You are not your past. You are not every mistake or every. What if your mind throws at you? You are the space that holds it all, the awareness that notices it, loves it, forgives it. That awareness, that's your true self. Calm, vast, untouched. And every moment you return to it, even for a breath, you're practicing freedom. You're training your mind softly, without struggle. Maybe you won't notice the change right away. Maybe you'll still wake up some mornings with a heavy heart. But little by little, the weight lifts. The storms come, but they don't drown you anymore. You start to see the light through the clouds, and you realize it was never gone. So, if you're still here, listening, breathing with me, I want you to know this. Peace isn't something you earn. It's something you remember. It's always been yours. You just forgot for a while. And maybe, as we keep walking together through these quiet reflections, you'll start to feel that remembering too. So if these words bring you even a little warmth, if they remind you that it's okay to slow down and feel, stay close. Subscribe, not for me, but for yourself, so you'll have a place to return to whenever the world gets loud again. Because here, in this little corner of the internet, we'll keep learning to let go, to breathe, to forgive, to find the calm that's been waiting for us all along. You know, sometimes it feels like the whole world has forgotten how to be still. We wake up rushing, we fall asleep tired, and in between, our minds never stop running. Always something to do, something to fix, someone to please. And even when everything is quiet, the noise inside doesn't stop. It hums beneath the surface, like a restless tide. Maybe you felt that too, that strange feeling of being surrounded by people yet still feeling alone. You sit in a room, the TV's on, your phone's buzzing, and somehow your heart feels far away, like it's living somewhere else. That's what happens when the mind never rests. It pulls you out of the moment, out of yourself. But what if stillness isn't something we have to find? What if it's already here, just waiting for us to stop running? You see, peace doesn't need a perfect world to exist. It just needs a willing heart. There's an old story about a monk who carried a cup of tea everywhere he went. When people asked him why, he'd smile and say, "Because it reminds me to walk slowly." The tea was always full, so if he hurried or stumbled, it would spill. And so, every step he took with care, with presence. Maybe that's what stillness really means. Not standing still, but moving gently through life without spilling yourself everywhere. We're taught that life is about doing, about producing, achieving, proving. But the heart doesn't speak that language. The heart speaks in pauses, in quiet moments, in deep breaths. And sometimes, the most important thing you can do is nothing at all. Just sit, breathe, listen, because in that silence, the truth begins to whisper. I used to think silence was empty, but now I see it's full of answers, full of healing, full of peace. When you stop chasing noise, the world becomes softer. You start to notice small things, the sound of rain, the warmth of sunlight on your hands, the gentle rhythm of your own breathing. And suddenly, you realize that these tiny moments, these quiet details, are what make life sacred. But stillness isn't always comfortable. Sometimes when the world grows quiet, the mind gets loud. Old memories rise up. Feelings you've buried start to stir. It can feel like standing in front of a mirror you've avoided for years. But that's okay. That's where the real work begins. Don't run from that silence. Stay with it. Let it show you what you've been avoiding. Pain, regret, longing, they're all just visitors. They knock on your door because they want to be seen. And when you finally sit down and say, "All right, I see you," they start to soften. They don't need to stay forever. Maybe you're afraid of silence because you think it will make you lonely. But real stillness doesn't isolate you. It connects you. It reminds you that you're part of something much bigger than your worries. It's like listening to the heartbeat of the universe and realizing it's in sync with your own. And the funny thing is, the quieter you become, the more you hear. You start to notice the kindness in a stranger's smile, the calm in an old tree swaying in the wind, the wisdom hidden in ordinary days. You start to see that peace isn't hiding in some faraway temple. It's right here, in the simple act of being alive. Maybe you're thinking, "But my life is too busy for stillness." I get that. The world demands so much from us. But stillness doesn't need hours. It just needs a moment. A single breath where you pause before reacting. A small space between your thoughts. A few seconds when you close your eyes and remember that you're here. That's enough. That's how it begins. And over time, those small pauses start to grow. You begin to live slower. You talk softer. You listen deeper. You stop chasing every thought that runs by. You start to realize that stillness isn't something you do. It's something you become. I once met an old woman who lived by the ocean. Every morning, she'd sit by the shore, eyes closed, breathing with the waves. I asked her what she was doing, and she smiled and said, "I'm practicing not hurrying." I laughed, but I never forgot those words. Practicing not hurrying. Maybe that's what we all need, to remember that life isn't a race, and we don't have to rush our healing. You don't have to reach enlightenment. or understand every mystery of the universe. You just have to be here. Fully, you just have to look around and whisper to yourself, this moment is enough, because it is. Right here, right now, you are enough. So tonight, when you lie in bed, before you fall asleep, place a hand on your chest and feel your heartbeat. That's life moving through you, quiet, steady, faithful. It doesn't ask for anything. It just keeps going. Let that remind you that even when everything feels uncertain, something inside you still knows how to live. And when you wake up tomorrow, maybe take one moment, just one, to sit before the world starts spinning again. Breathe in slowly. Feel the air move through you. Listen to the morning. Let it be simple. Let it be enough. If you can make space for even one quiet moment a day, peace will start finding its way back to you. Not because you forced it, but because you finally stopped chasing it. So, if these moments we share help you breathe a little deeper, help you remember that it's okay to slow down and feel again, stay close. Subscribe if you'd like, not for me, but for the calm that you keep giving yourself. Because peace is something we practice together, gently, one breath at a time. And maybe in the stillness of these few words, you can already feel it, that small flicker of quiet returning to you, soft and familiar, like coming home after a long journey. You know, sometimes it feels like the whole world has forgotten how to be still. We wake up rushing, we fall asleep tired, and in between, our minds never stop running. Always something to do, something to fix, someone to please. And even when everything is quiet, the noise inside doesn't stop. It hums beneath the surface, like a restless tide. Maybe you felt that too, that strange feeling of being surrounded by people yet still feeling alone. You sit in a room, the TV's on, your phone's buzzing, and somehow your heart feels far away, like it's living somewhere else. That's what happens when the mind never rests. It pulls you out of the moment, out of yourself. But what if stillness isn't something we have to find? What if it's already here, just waiting for us to stop running? You see, peace doesn't need a perfect world to exist. It just needs a willing heart. There's an old story about a monk who carried a cup of tea everywhere he went. When people asked him why, he'd smile and say, "Because it reminds me to walk slowly." The tea was always full, so if he hurried or stumbled, it would spill. And so, every step he took with care, with presence. Maybe that's what stillness really means. Not standing still, but moving gently through life without spilling yourself everywhere. We're taught that life is about doing, about producing, achieving, proving. But the heart doesn't speak that language. The heart speaks in pauses, in quiet moments, in deep breaths. And sometimes the most important thing you can do is nothing at all. Just sit, breathe, listen, because in that silence, the truth begins to whisper. I used to think silence was empty, but now I see it's full of answers, full of healing, full of peace. When you stop chasing noise, the world becomes softer. You start to notice small things, the sound of rain, the warmth of sunlight on your hands, the gentle rhythm of your own breathing. And suddenly, you realize that these tiny moments, these quiet details, are what make life sacred. But stillness isn't always comfortable. Sometimes when the world grows quiet, the mind gets loud. Old memories rise up. Feelings you've buried start to stir. It can feel like standing in front of a mirror you've avoided for years. But that's okay. That's where the real work begins. Don't run from that silence. Stay with it. Let it show you what you've been avoiding. Pain, regret, longing, they're all just visitors. They knock on your door. because they want to be seen. And when you finally sit down and say, all right, I see you, they start to soften. They don't need to stay forever. Maybe you're afraid of silence because you think it will make you lonely. But real stillness doesn't isolate you. It connects you. It reminds you that you're part of something much bigger than your worries. It's like listening to the heartbeat of the universe and realizing it's in sync with your own. And the funny thing is, the quieter you become, the more you hear. You start to notice the kindness in a stranger's smile, the calm in an old tree swaying in the wind, the wisdom hidden in ordinary days. You start to see that peace isn't hiding in some faraway temple. It's right here, in the simple act of being alive. Maybe you're thinking, but my life is too busy for stillness. I get that. The world demands so much from us. But stillness doesn't need hours. It just needs a moment. A single breath where you pause before reacting. A small space between your thoughts. A few seconds when you close your eyes and remember that you're here. That's enough. That's how it begins. And over time, those small pauses start to grow. You begin to live slower. You talk softer. You listen deeper. You stop chasing every thought that runs by. You start to realize that stillness isn't something you do. It's something you become. I once met an old woman who lived by the ocean. Every morning, she'd sit by the shore, eyes closed, breathing with the waves. I asked her what she was doing, and she smiled and said, "I'm practicing not hurrying." I laughed, but I never forgot those words. Practicing not hurrying. Maybe that's what we all need, to remember that life isn't a race, and we don't have to rush our healing. You don't have to reach enlightenment or understand every mystery of the universe. You just have to be here, fully. You just have to look around and whisper to yourself, this moment is enough, because it is. Right here, right now, you are enough. So tonight, when you lie in bed, before you fall asleep, place a hand on your chest and feel your heartbeat. That's life moving through you, quiet, steady, faithful. It doesn't ask for anything. It just keeps going. Let that remind you that even when everything feels uncertain, something inside you still knows how to live. And when you wake up tomorrow, maybe take one moment, just one, to sit before the world starts spinning again. Breathe in slowly. Feel the air move through you. Listen to the morning. Let it be simple. Let it be enough. If you can make space for even one quiet moment a day, peace will start finding its way back to you. Not because you forced it, but because you finally stopped chasing it. So, if these moments we share help you breathe a little deeper, help you remember that it's okay to slow down and feel again, stay close. Subscribe if you'd like, not for me, but for the calm that you keep giving yourself. Because peace is something we practice together, gently, one breath at a time. And maybe in the stillness of these few words, you can already feel it, that small flicker of quiet returning to you, soft and familiar, like coming home after a long journey. You know, there comes a moment in life when you stop trying to make everything perfect. When you finally realize that peace doesn't come from fixing every broken thing. It comes from learning to let life be just as it is. Not because you've given up, but because you've grown tired of fighting what can't be changed. Maybe you felt that too, that quiet exhaustion that comes after years of trying to control the uncontrollable. We plan, we hope, we dream, and sometimes life just says, not this time. And we stand there confused, asking, why me? Why now? But maybe life isn't punishing us. Maybe it's teaching us the art of acceptance, the most tender kind of strength there is. Acceptance isn't giving up. It's breathing through what hurts. It's saying, This is my reality right now, and that's okay. You stop fighting the current, and you start floating with it. You realize that peace isn't found by changing the river. It's found by learning how to move with its flow. I remember once watching an old man sitting on a park bench, just watching leaves fall. He wasn't on his phone. He wasn't talking. He was just there, still, quiet, peaceful. And I thought, maybe that's what wisdom looks like, the ability to simply sit with life as it happens. We spend so much of our time trying to hold on to people, to plans, to the way things used to be. But the truth is, everything changes. The people we love, the places we know, even the person we are, all of it keeps shifting quietly, gently, like seasons passing. And maybe that's not something to be afraid of. Maybe it's something to honor. Because if nothing ever changed, there'd be no growth, no learning, no beauty in the passage of time. The sunset wouldn't be breathtaking if it lasted forever. When we accept that everything is temporary, every joy, every sorrow, every breath, something inside us relaxes. We stop clinging. We stop demanding life to be a certain way. And in that softening, peace appears. Maybe the greatest peace comes not from holding tighter, but from loosening our grip, from whispering, "It's okay if it ends. It's okay if it changes. It's okay if I don't know what comes next." Because life always finds a way to unfold, with or without our permission. Sometimes the hardest thing is letting go of who we thought we'd be by now. We carry so many expectations of success, of happiness, of who should still be in our lives. But maybe peace begins when we stop measuring ourselves by the stories we once believed. You are not behind. You are not lost. You're just in a chapter that looks different than the one you imagined. And maybe that's how it was always meant to be. Because some of the most beautiful moments in life come from the things we never planned, the people we met by chance, the detours that led to discovery, the endings that became beginnings in disguise. So if you find yourself in a season of change right now, try not to rush it. Don't demand clarity before it's time. Sit with it. Let it unfold. Every change carries a hidden gift, a lesson, a strength, a piece of wisdom waiting quietly inside the uncertainty. There's a soft kind of freedom in realizing you don't have to have it all figured out. You don't need to fix every problem or understand every reason. You just need to keep showing up, one breath, one moment at a time. I once heard someone say, "The heart breaks until it opens." I think that's true. Life has a way of softening us through loss, through endings, through the quiet moments when we realize we can't hold on forever. But in that breaking, we also become more tender, more alive, more real. So maybe the next time something slips through your fingers, a plan, a relationship, a dream, instead of chasing it, take a deep breath, watch it drift away, and whisper, "Thank you, because it came to teach you something, and now its time has passed." That's the rhythm of life, coming and going, blooming and fading, holding and releasing. And once you stop fighting that rhythm, you start to dance with it. Life becomes lighter, easier, more graceful. Maybe you'll still have days when the sadness returns. That's all right. Let it sit beside you like an old friend. You don't have to chase it away. Just let it stay until it's ready to leave. Every feeling, like every season, has its purpose. And through it all, the joy, the loss, the noise, the silence, you remain. You, the awareness behind it all, the stillness that watches it all come and go. That's who you truly are. So if these words remind you of something gentle you've forgotten, if they help you breathe a little easier and trust the flow a little more, then stay close. Subscribe if you like, not for the noise of algorithms, but for the quiet reminders we share here. Because sometimes hearing a soft voice say, "It's okay to let go," is exactly what the heart needs. Let's keep walking together through this changing world, one breath at a time. Let's keep learning to meet life as it is, with open hands, with a calm heart, and with faith that every ending carries the seed of something new. Because maybe peace was never about control. Maybe it was always about trust. And maybe right now, as you listen, as you breathe and let this moment be enough, you're already living that peace. Quietly, simply, beautifully. You know, sometimes when the world feels heavy, when people disappoint us, or when life doesn't meet our expectations, our hearts start to close. We begin to protect ourselves, building quiet walls inside. Maybe it starts small, a little distance here, a little silence there. But over time, we stop letting the world touch us. We stop feeling deeply, because feeling deeply can hurt. But maybe that's when we lose touch with one of the most beautiful things we have: compassion. Compassion isn't something grand or heroic. It's soft. It's simple. It's the way you smile at a stranger who looks tired. It's the way you hold your friend's hand when they have no words left. It's the way you forgive yourself after another long night of overthinking. Compassion doesn't fix everything. It doesn't even try to, but it makes the space around us a little warmer, a little more human. You see, the world doesn't need more people who are perfect. It needs people who are kind, who are gentle enough to listen, who still care even when they're tired, who still choose softness in a world that sometimes rewards hardness. It takes courage to stay open when life keeps breaking your heart. But that's what compassion is. It's love choosing to keep showing up again and again, even when it's hard. I think compassion begins when we stop trying to judge who deserves it. Everyone you meet is carrying something invisible. The man who seems rude at the grocery store, maybe he just lost someone. The woman who cuts you off in traffic, maybe she's rushing to the hospital. The person who's always angry, maybe they've never been shown real kindness. You never really know what battle someone is fighting quietly behind their eyes. And when you remember that, something softens in you. You start to see the shared pain that connects us all. And maybe that's where healing begins. Not in fixing, not in preaching, but in simply being present. Sometimes you don't have to have the right words. You just need to be there, to sit beside someone in their storm and say, "You're not alone." That's compassion in its purest form. And don't forget, compassion isn't just for others. It's also for you. We're so good at being kind to everyone else, but so cruel to ourselves. We blame ourselves for mistakes, for not being enough, for not doing more. But maybe you've already done the best you could with what you knew at the time. Maybe you didn't fail. Maybe you just learned in a hard way. So tonight, instead of judging yourself, try this. Place your hand over your heart, take a slow breath and whisper, "I'm doing my best, and that's okay." You don't have to earn your own kindness. You deserve it just for being here, just for trying, just for waking up each day and facing the world again. You know, I think the most peaceful people aren't the ones who've avoided pain. They're the ones who've turned their pain into understanding, who've let their heartbreak teach them tenderness instead of bitterness. Maybe that's the quiet power of compassion. It transforms our wounds into wisdom. The next time someone hurts you, instead of reacting, take a moment, breathe, look at them and silently say, "May you find peace." It doesn't excuse their behavior, but it frees your heart from carrying their pain. Compassion doesn't mean allowing harm. It means choosing peace over resentment. And maybe as we grow older, we start to see that love doesn't always look like fairy tales. Sometimes it looks like patience. Sometimes it looks like walking away with grace. Sometimes it looks like forgiving quietly and wishing someone well, even if they'll never know it. There's a softness and compassion that holds the world together, a kind of strength that doesn't need a shout. It's what turns strangers into friends and wounds into wisdom. And when you start living with that kind of open heart, life feels lighter. You begin to see beauty everywhere, in the wrinkles on a kind face, in the silence between words, in the moments where nothing happens but peace. So, if your heart's been through a lot lately, don't rush to harden it. Let it heal gently. Let it stay soft. Because that softness, that ability to care, to forgive, to understand, is what keeps the light inside you alive. And if this message touched you, if it reminds you the kind of peace your heart's been quietly longing for, stay with me. Subscribe so we can keep walking this path together, one story, one breath, one gentle reminder at a time. Because sometimes all we need is a small space like this, where we can rest, breathe, and remember, kindness is still possible. Compassion still matters. And maybe that's how we heal the world, one soft heart at a time. You know, forgiveness is one of those words we hear all the time, in books, in talks, in quiet conversations about healing. But when life actually asks us to practice it, it can feel almost impossible. Because forgiveness isn't just saying it's okay. It's walking through the pain, the betrayal, the anger, and choosing again and again not to let it harden your heart. Maybe someone you trusted broke their promise. Maybe someone left when you needed them most. Or maybe, and this one hurts the deepest, maybe you can't forgive yourself for something you said, something you did, or something you didn't do when you had the chance. We carry these moments like stones in our hearts, thinking if we hold on, we'll stay strong. But the truth is, unforgiveness doesn't make us strong. It just keeps us tired. There's this quiet truth life teaches us sooner or later. Holding on to anger doesn't punish the other person. It only poisons our own peace. Every time you replay what happened, every time you relive that moment, you're reopening a wound that's already trying to heal. And maybe, just maybe, it's time to stop bleeding for what's already gone. Forgiveness isn't saying what happened was right. It's not pretending you weren't hurt. It's simply saying, I'm done carrying this pain. You're setting yourself free from the story that keeps repeating in your mind. Because what you truly deserve isn't revenge, it's peace. Sometimes, the person we need to forgive will never say sorry. They might never admit what they did, never understand how deeply it hurt you. And that's okay. Forgiveness isn't about them. It's about you, choosing to release yourself from the weight of bitterness, choosing not to let their choices define the rest of your life. And if the person you need to forgive is you, that's okay too. Maybe you didn't know better. Maybe you were just trying to survive. Maybe you did the best you could with what you had at that time. We all have moments we wish we could rewrite. But the truth is, you can't heal if you keep punishing yourself for being human. You deserve the same kindness you'd give to someone else. So tonight, maybe you sit quietly for a while. You take a slow breath, and you whisper to yourself, I forgive you. I release this. You might not feel lighter right away. Forgiveness isn't always instant. It's something that unfolds softly over time. Some days, you'll feel at peace. Other days, the old hurt might knock on your door again. That's okay. Just keep opening the door with love. One day, it won't come back anymore. I once heard someone say that forgiveness is like unclenching your fist after holding it tight for years. At first, it hurts. Your hands stiff, your fingers tremble. But then the blood flows again. The warmth returns. And that's what happens to your heart when you finally let go. When you forgive, you don't erase the past. You just stop allowing it to control your future. You stop dragging old pain into new days. You give yourself permission to start again lighter, freer, softer. Maybe forgiveness is the final act of strength, because it takes real courage to say, I choose peace, even when I was wronged. It takes maturity to understand that letting go doesn't mean you've lost. It means you finally stop letting pain win. You know, life has this quiet rhythm. People come and go. Stories begin and end. Love heals and breaks and heals again. And through it all, the heart keeps learning how to stay open. Forgiveness is how it stays open. It's how it keeps beating without bitterness. So if you're listening right now and there's someone you can't forgive, maybe don't force it. Just start with willingness. Say, one day I want to forgive. That's enough. The heart knows how to do the rest when it's ready. And if this feels like something your soul needed to hear today, if these words remind you that it's okay to let go, then stay with me. Subscribe if you want more moments like this, more gentle reminders to help your heart breathe again. Because we all need a little space to heal, to soften, to remember that life's too short to carry what no longer belongs to us. So breathe. Let it go. You don't have to carry yesterday anymore. You're allowed to start over. You're allowed to be free. You know, sometimes life moves so fast that we forget we're actually living it. We rush from one thing to the next, one plan, one task, one dream. And somewhere along the way, we stop noticing the quiet beauty that's right in front of us. We wake up thinking about yesterday or worrying about tomorrow, and the only moment we truly have, this one, slips right through our fingers. Maybe you felt it too, that restless feeling that no matter how much you do, it's never enough. That sense that peace is always waiting on the other side of one more thing. But what if peace isn't something you have to chase? What if it's been here all along, waiting for you to slow down and notice it? Try this for a second. Take a deep breath. Feel the air move in and out of your body. Listen to the sound around you. Maybe it's the hum of a fan, the rustle of leaves, the faint rhythm of your heartbeat. For just this moment, there's nowhere else you need to be. Nothing you need to fix. Nothing missing. This is life. Not the one you planned for, not the one you lost, but the one that's happening right now. It's funny, isn't it? We spend years searching for peace, and all along it was right here, sitting quietly beneath the noise of our thoughts. When you stop fighting the moment, when you stop demanding it be different, that's when peace slips in like sunlight through a half-open window. Maybe that's why children seem so alive. They don't live in what if or what's next. They live in this. They find joy in a butterfly landing on their hand, in the sound of rain on the roof, in the feeling of grass beneath their feet. They don't ask life to be perfect. They just experience it. Maybe somewhere along the way, we forgot how to do that. You don't have to meditate for hours or escape to a mountain to find peace. You can find it while washing dishes, while driving home, while sitting quietly with your coffee in the morning. Peace isn't hiding. It's just waiting for you to come back to the present. When your mind starts racing, when the worries come about your past, your future, your mistakes, your plans, just pause. Come back to your breath. Feel the ground beneath you. Feel your heart beating. That's reality. That's home. The rest is just noise. Sometimes, the most spiritual thing you can do is simply notice your life as it is, not how you wish it were. Notice the sunlight touching the floor. Notice how your lungs keep breathing without being asked. Notice how the world still turns, no matter how heavy your thoughts may be. There's something comforting about that. The way life keeps moving, gently, quietly, even when we're lost in our minds. Maybe peace isn't something you need to learn. Maybe it's something you remember, because deep down, you already know how to be still. You knew it as a child, sitting under a tree, watching clouds drift by. You knew it before the world told you to hurry, to prove, to achieve. And maybe now, all you have to do is return to that simple knowing. That being is enough. So, next time you catch yourself rushing, pause. Look around. Feel your feet on the earth. Listen to the small sounds of life. That's where peace lives, not in the big moments, but in the small, ordinary ones we often overlook. And maybe, if you let enough of those small moments collect, the soft laughter, the quiet mornings, the stillness before sleep, they start to form something sacred. A life that feels full, not because you have everything, but because you're finally here to experience it. So breathe again, in and out. Let the world slow down for just a moment. You're alive, you're breathing, you're here, and that's enough. If this little moment of calm spoke to you, if it reminded you that peace is closer than you thought, stay with me. Subscribe if you'd like, not for numbers or noise, but for more moments like this, where we can just pause together, breathe, and remember how to be human again. Because maybe peace was never something to find. Maybe it was always something to notice. And maybe right now you just did. Sometimes we spend so much time thinking about what's missing that we forget how much we already have. We look at the things that didn't work out, the people who left, the dreams that faded, and we overlook the quiet blessings that have been with us all along. Gratitude isn't about pretending everything is perfect. It's about realizing that even in imperfection, there's still beauty. Maybe it starts with something as small as a warm cup of coffee in the morning, the way sunlight touches your window, or the sound of someone you love laughing in another room. These moments don't seem big, but they're the little threads that hold our lives together. When we start noticing them, when we start saying thank you, not out loud, but deep in our hearts, life begins to feel different. You stop chasing so much. You stop comparing so much. You stop needing life to be anything other than what it is right now. Because gratitude softens you. It opens your eyes to the quiet magic that's always been here, waiting for you to see it. Sometimes, gratitude is the only thing that can bring light into dark seasons. You may not have everything you want, but if you pause long enough, you'll see. There's still love somewhere in your life, still warmth, still breath in your lungs. And that means there's still hope. Maybe you've gone through loss or disappointment, something that broke your heart wide open, and maybe it feels unfair. But even in that, there's something sacred. Because pain has this strange way of sharpening our sight, of teaching us what really matters. We begin to see how precious each small moment is, how nothing and no one should ever be taken for granted. I remember once watching an old woman sitting by herself at a cafe. She had this soft smile, not a loud, happy one, but the kind that comes from having lived long enough to understand that joy doesn't have to shout. She sat there, sipping tea, watching the world move around her, and you could just tell she was grateful for being here, grateful for another day. Maybe that's the secret. Gratitude doesn't change what you have. It changes how you see it. When you wake up and notice even one thing to be thankful for, your whole day begins to shift. The problems don't disappear, but they stop feeling so heavy. Because when your heart is full, there's not much room left for bitterness. And gratitude doesn't always mean joy. Sometimes it's quiet acceptance. Sometimes it's saying, I don't understand why this happened, but I trust that somehow it's shaping me. It's finding peace in the unknown. It's whispering thank you even when life doesn't make sense. Maybe you start small tonight before you sleep, just name 3 things you're grateful for. Not big ones, just small things. The sound of rain, the comfort of your bed, the fact that you made it through another day. And then notice how your heart softens a little, how the noise in your mind quiets down. That's the power of gratitude. It grounds you in the now. It brings light into the places that feel dark. You don't have to wait for your life to be perfect to be thankful. You can start right here with what you already have. Because when you focus on what's good, you create more of it. Gratitude has a way of multiplying. The more you notice, the more life gives you to notice. And if you're listening to this right now, maybe take a moment to breathe in deeply and whisper quietly, thank you for your heart, for your strength, for everything that has carried you to this moment. You've been through so much, and yet here you are, still trying, still learning, still open. That's something to be deeply grateful for. If these words bring a little warmth to your heart, if they help you slow down and remember the goodness that's still here, stay close. Subscribe if you like, not out of habit, but as a way of saying, yes, I want to keep remembering what really matters. Because the truth is, gratitude is not something we practice once. It's a way of living. And maybe when we live with a thankful heart, even the ordinary days start to shine. The light seems softer, the air feels gentler, and suddenly you realize life was never about chasing more. It was about noticing what was already enough. So tonight, as you close your eyes, don't think about what you're missing. Think about what you still have, the breath in your chest, the people who love you, the moments that made you laugh. Because sometimes that's all you need to remember, that even in this imperfect life, there's still so much to be grateful for. Maybe life feels heavy right now. Maybe your mind is full of worries, or your heart is carrying more than it should. And maybe, just maybe, you've been looking for answers in all the wrong places, in achievements, in approval, in the next big thing. But sometimes the greatest wisdom whispers quietly. Meaning is found in simplicity. Take a breath. Feel your body resting, your chest rising and falling. That's your life, right here, right now. You don't need anything more to be complete. Maybe it's okay to just be for a little while, to sit in silence, to notice the warmth of sunlight on your skin, the gentle rhythm of your own breath, the way small acts of kindness ripple quietly in the world. Life doesn't have to be grand to be meaningful. The small gestures, the soft smiles, the quiet moments of connection, these are the threads that weave a life worth living. Maybe you help someone without realizing it. Maybe you listened when someone needed it most. Or maybe you simply survived another day when it felt impossible. That is enough. That is profound. That is living fully. Sometimes we get lost in trying to control everything, in planning every detail, in holding on to outcomes. But peace starts when we let go of what we can't change. Maybe it's okay to trust that life will unfold as it should, even if you can't see the whole picture. The storms will pass. The sun will shine again. And through it all, your heart learns resilience. Your spirit learns patience. Your mind learns calm. Maybe you've been waiting for a sign, for a message, for someone to tell you that it's okay to rest. Here it is. Right now, in this breath, it's okay. You don't need to fix everything. You don't need to have all the answers. You don't even need to be perfect. You just need to return to yourself. To notice your own presence, your own heartbeat, your own life unfolding softly around you. Love, kindness, simplicity, these are not just ideas. They're the quiet path back to peace. Notice the people who care for you, the moments that bring a smile to your face, the little victories that go unseen. Maybe the world doesn't shout about them, but they matter, and maybe that's the point. Meaning isn't always loud. Sometimes it's found in the gentle, almost invisible ways we touch life every day. So breathe again, in and out. Let your shoulders relax. Let your mind soften. You are here. You are alive. And that alone is a gift. Maybe it's okay to let go of the pressure, to stop chasing, to start noticing, to see that life, even in its ordinary, messy, unpredictable form, is already enough. And if these words have reached you today, if they reminded you to slow down, to breathe, to notice the quiet beauty around you, maybe stay connected. Subscribe if you like, not because you have to, but because we can share more moments like this. Gentle reminders to return simplicity, to remember that peace, love, and meaning are always within reach. Remember, even when life feels heavy or confusing, you can always come back to this. The quiet breath, the soft light, the simple presence of being alive. That is where your strength lives. That is where peace begins. That is where life, in all its imperfect, beautiful simplicity, waits for you.